Do aliens exist, and are they among us? Are weird creatures lurking in the darkness? Do evil entities hide in the shadows of your bedroom while you sleep? Join us as we explore all this and more on the Warped Reality Podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Warped Reality Paranormal Podcast. I am Ghost Joe.
And I'm Ghost Joe number 2.
What?
I just decided to change my name to Ghost Joe too.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's cool. So today we're welcoming back Tony Rathman, the founder of Entity Voices Paranormal Investigations and leading EVP ITC researcher. With many years of experience, Tony has investigated hundreds of haunted locations across the U.S. and internationally, pioneering groundbreaking spirit communication technology like Staticom and Evox spirit boxes. How you doing, Tony? How you been?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming back. And you've been my go-to guy also, man. Whenever we've been getting some EVPs on the show, I've been sending them over to you, like, what's, asking you, oh, what do you think? What do you think? But we had gotten a lot of them with the Sin Schrader Hill show. I mean, tons of them. And I mean, they were pretty impressive too.
That's awesome.
All of them coming from my end. So I don't know what that's about, but yeah. So,
they don't call him Ghost Joe for nothing.
I guess not. For new listeners, can you tell everybody who the hell you are and, what you do?
You bet. Well, let's see. We're coming up on, we're like 15 years and 8 months or 9 months now. But I didn't believe any of this 16 years ago. None of it. It was my wife that got me into it, and she tricked me back in 2010 on Valentine's Day weekend. And I said to her, hey, what do you want to do for Valentine's Day this year? And she said, I want to do something different. I said, okay, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go ghost hunting. And I was like, oh, come on. You got to be kidding me. But I had two choices. I could take her or have her mad at me until next Valentine's Day.
Right.
Didn't want that, so I took her. And I found a location, did some internet research, found a location in Phoenix that had a reputation for being haunted. And I thought, okay, we'll stay there for the weekend. Then I thought I was done. And I'm like, wait a minute. She was trying to get me to watch all these paranormal shows, and I'd last about 2 minutes. But I'm like, wait, they're using some equipment. So then I bought her equipment. We went. She had a great time. That was all I cared about. But when she got the stuff home and started reviewing it, what caught my attention was EVPs. We had answers to questions that we asked when we were the only people up at 3 a.m. and in the basement, which the general public technically wasn't even supposed to be. But we had answers that you could hear. You could hear what they were saying, and they were answering our questions with timing and relevance. And that just blew my mind. So I said to her, all right, let's go back. There had to be an air vent or something. It just had to be coincidence that it sounded like it was answering what we asked. So we went back. No air vent. There were no voices in that basement coming from anywhere. And we came back with even more replies. And that's how it all began. And I was mostly fascinated and still fascinated today with speech. Where is that voice coming from? How is it getting on there? How is it getting on there without me being able to hear it with my own ears? And that led us down the path to go from EVP to ITC, or instrumental transcommunication, which when most people think of ITC, they think of a spirit box, because here in America, that was the most well-known, shown on TV device that was used, but there are others. So my wife and I actually built spirit boxes for 12 years, improving one after the other, having that complete with the Evox 2.0, which gave unbelievably clear communication, but we couldn't lengthen it. It was still a word or two, 3 at the most, short, quick responses. So, okay, we gotta find a way to lengthen this communication. So then we moved to a method called direct radio voice. Then we took direct radio voice and we upgraded it to 21st century with electronics, computers, and then took away the radio because direct radio voice still used a radio. It didn't scan. It sat on a individual blank station, basically white noise, but still used a radio, and nobody would pay any attention to voices coming out of a radio because you can't determine reception from deception. So we took away the radio, replaced it with a white noise generator. We did everything that's done in EVP, where you take the recorder home, you hook it up to your computer, you amplify it, you try to clean it up. You may speed it up or slow it down. All of that is done with Staticom in real time, meaning all we have to do is speak, the answers come in, we can clearly hear what they're saying, and then answer back. And we went from Staticom to Staticom 2.0 to today Staticom 3.0, which is live, two-way communication with something that is not in front of you.
Wow. Now, let me ask you, what's the difference? I mean, what are your thoughts, and what's the difference between what your device does compared to these apps on the phone that supposedly do the same thing?
Real simple. Because of the circuitry within a phone, they rely on one or two methods of getting voices. Word banks, which, let's face it, there is nothing paranormal about that. If your app is spitting out similar sentences every 20th time, guess what? You've got a word bank of pre-selected answers, and there's not an ounce of anything paranormal in there.
Right.
The other way it can do it is if it is using internet, it can get all sorts of information from your GPS location to know where you're at, to using your mic to record what you're saying and then spit out an answer that is relevant to what you asked. Staticom does none of that. There is no mic. We had it analyzed by a double PhD in both computer science and electrical engineering. He went through every component, said there is nothing here that can produce voice because we don't use word banks. We can't get a radio signal, a television signal, CB, ham radio, baby monitor, walkie-talkie, nothing. It does not have the ability to pick them up. He did say he had one concern with the white noise generator because it was only encased in plastic. He said, my concern is that it could pick up an electromagnetic interference or possibly some sort of burst signal. So he recommended we encase it in steel, wrap the steel in military grade Faraday, and then he said, ground the circuit within the steel casing to a 10-foot pole, pounded at least 2 to 3 feet in the ground, and ground it to that. He said, if you get voices after that, I'll be impressed. Well, guess what? We did all that. The voices did not change one bit.
Wow.
So the white noise generator is encased in a Faraday cage, or so to speak?
Yes, it's encased in a steel electromagnetic resistant, basically what you'd see on the outside of a house if it was sitting outside and you had circuitry that had to be protected from electromagnetic interference. So it's a steel case. The circuit is mounted inside the steel case. The case is then wrapped in military grade Faraday because Faraday will take out higher signals, radio signals, satellite signals, where the steel will protect from lower grade electromagnetic interference.
I want to understand this. You you came up with this technology, and now you aren't necessarily manufacturing it now. You've pretty much you've come up with the idea, and someone else is manufacturing it for you. Is that right?
No, it's not being manufactured yet at all.
Okay.
The original system used something called I'm trying to remember what the name of that program was. Basically, it's a DAW, a DAW, digital audio workstation.
Correct.
And that was actually shown to us many years ago. We don't use that at all anymore, but that's where it began. So that was shown to us. We've just expanded and changed and upgraded it we went from direct radio voice. We had the DAW introduced. Then we got rid of the radio. And then from Staticom to Staticom 2.0, there were upgrades done in the clarity. And then from 2.0 to 3.0, the system was completely broken down, changed. We figured out why we were getting the shortness in communication. And yes, everything from 2 to 3 was a major overhaul, and they don't look similar at all anymore. And now we just signed an NDA with an ITC researcher and electrical engineer in Brazil, and him and I are now working on 4.0.
Okay.
Wow. So what do you, not to get deep or anything, because this podcast isn't very deep, right? But,
That's what she said.
Yeah, I was going to do that too, Ken. No, but
That's what
do you
she
think?
said.
What do you think that the spirits most want to understand? Like, what do you think? Like, have you ever gotten any responses where they're trying to tell you something about the other side or anything like that? Well,
We've gotten so much information, I couldn't even begin to touch the tip of the iceberg on that question in a year's worth of shows with you. We have gotten information on so many things. I don't know if I gave you this clip or not, but one of the really fascinating things was if I'm human and I'm creating vocal sound waves, disturbances in the atmosphere with my vocal cords, another human within the physical range of my voice has human ears. And so those vibrations will move the follicles within their ear. It'll send that vibration to the liquid center of the ear, which will then begin to also vibrate. And that vibration then gets transmitted to the brain. So understanding how speech is heard in the human form is completely understandable. But if they're not human anymore and they're in spirit form, and I'm not broadcasting my voice when I ask these questions, I'm speaking in my normal tone of voice, I wanted to know, how do you hear me speak? The answer that came back was, we call it death, which to me meant we're no longer human. That was just their way of saying, we passed over. And then they said, energy of the mind. That's the thing.
Huh.
That was huge to us because we had done EVP work for at least 12 years or more, and we still do. But a lot of times the answer would show up on the recorder before we even asked the question.
Wow.
And that explains it. They don't need my vocals. The only thing that needed my vocals was the recorder, so we knew what question we asked. But they didn't. They got it from energy of the mind, which to us is consciousness. And this information made us reevaluate everything about life, about spirits, about what is truly consciousness, and the fact that there is a universal consciousness of which we believe we're all part of, and that we're fractal portions of it when we're alive here on Earth. But is that connection between our human fractal universal consciousness connected back to universal consciousness which is how the information is transferred from us to them and back.
Very interesting. That's crazy. So now, out of all your investigations, now you've done regular paranormal investigations, like I had said in the intro, throughout the world and stuff. Which cases or which case kind of sticks out in your mind as, you know, one of the, you know, most prolific or however way you want to remember it, but just one case that really sticks out in your mind?
Well, when we went to investigate the Diplomat Hotel in Baguio City, Philippines, that one definitely sticks out in my mind. Why? Well, first we had to get permission to stay there overnight. They gave us permission, and then the next day they took it back because apparently a group was in there a week before and they think they got possessed and they didn't want that happening anymore. So then we went to the mayor, and my wife's from the Philippines, and she's very well known. We got to talk to the mayor. The mayor said, "I'll let you guys in here." And he signed an approval form for us. We took it to the armed gates. This was already after the sun had gone down. The security guard at the gate took the paper, looked at it, let us in, and he walked with us for about 5 steps. And he said, the building was still 300 yards away. And he said, "That's as close as I'm going to go after dark." So we got in there, and we were the only 2 people in the whole building because it was closed for the night. The security guard wouldn't come anywhere near, but we could hear them. We could hear the spirits speak with our own ears. We have a recording where Cherie's asking question after question, and you hear the response on the recorder, but you also hear me repeating what I heard, and it's a dead match. So that was just crazy. We were in there 15 minutes, and Cherie and I have investigated all over the U.S., Japan, the Philippines. We're in that building 15 minutes, and she says, "Let's go outside." I said, "Cherie, it's pouring rain. What do you want to go outside for?" She goes, "Please, let's just go outside." So I said, "Okay." So we go outside, and she goes, "You keep asking me, can I hear the voices?" She's like, "Yeah, I can hear them. I'm freaked out. I feel like I'm going to walk around a corner and something's going to be standing in front of me." She goes, I need a break." I've never heard her say anything like that, and have never heard since.
Wow.
But it was a crazy place. There was a fenced gate, big metal, thick barred gate. We didn't know it was open until later, but I was switching batteries in my camera, and I was right up against it. My arm was literally leaning against it, and something grabbed my jacket and pulled my arm into the fence. It couldn't go through, but and I dropped my camera. The battery went flying, and she goes, "Did your arm just get pulled?" I said, "Yeah." And then we realized the gate was open, so I'm like, "Let's go up." But that place definitely sticks out.
So you guys just usually investigate just the 2 of you, or you have a whole team, or?
Well, at that point, EVPI was just my wife and I for years. Then we added a couple of other members, and now we're back to just my wife and I. And that seems to work well for us because we work really well together, and there's at least 2 of us. We're not out there doing it on our own. But yeah, it's back to the 2 of us again.
Okay. I mean, I always thought that if I was going to start my own group, I'd want to have it smaller as well. You know, too many people. I feel like if there's too many people there, you're not going to get the evidence that you should be getting. You know, that's why I feel like a lot of these, you know, TV shows and stuff. Yeah, you might be seeing 4 investigators, but you have a director there and a cameraman and all sorts of people there, you know, that you don't see. So, you know, I think the smaller the group, the better, really.
I do agree. The more people that are there does cause lesser amount of things to happen. Maybe it's just out of concern from the spirit's sake, or I don't know. But, most people who have had an experience have had it alone or maybe with one other person, but you never hear of really big events happening with a group of 15 or 30 people. It doesn't happen.
Plus, you have a greater chance of human error. I mean, basically.
Right. You have noises, you have people breathing, you have people whispering, all sorts of things that if you're going through audio can make you think you're hearing something that's not there. And that is a concern. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, especially with these high, the microphones that we use to pick these things up sometimes, I mean, they're very sensitive. The condenser microphones and stuff, so they pick up anything, I could have my microphone on right now. It's going to pick up something 3 doors away from me, so it's like, it's very difficult in that sense. Were there ever any EVPs that like got you really rattled?
Well, communication, I mean, EVP, if you're talking strictly using a digital recorder, yeah, there were. I mean, like I said, we've been doing this coming up on 16 years now.
Right.
So I remember even some in the first couple of years that really shook me up. Things that were said. And, but now with Staticom or two-way ITC communication, we get blown away at minimum once or twice a week because we run it almost every day. And things that have come through, things that have been said that you're just like, wait, what? Questions that get answered in a way that you're not even thinking about or expecting. I could probably think of hundreds, if not thousands, of ones that have blown me away.
Wow.
So ITC, the grandfather of ITC is, Marcello Bacci, of course.
Well, Friedrich Jurgensen, actually. Friedrich Jurgensen was the one who figured out direct radio voice. He passed that information on to Konstantin Radova, and Konstantin Radova is the one who taught Marcello Bacci.
Okay, right. Yeah, but I mean, he pretty much refined it. I mean, I don't really think they were getting the attention or the quite the results that he was getting. His results were pretty staggering.
You are correct. Marcello Bacci used it for 35 years, but what I do envy Marcello Bacci of is that he actually had scientists test him in the lab. And I would love to be able to do that with Staticom, but science they won't touch it. But they pulled his vacuum tubes one by one, because that's the kind of radio he was using, to figure out when the voices would stop. Well, guess what? They pulled each vacuum tube one by one, all the way down to the third one. So now it had no more vacuum tubes, which allows the radio to produce the speech it was producing. He was still getting voices. And so science could not debunk how Marcello Bacci was getting these responses.
Well, yeah, I mean, they completely shut the radio off during a session, and for 22 minutes afterwards, it was still speaking with it.
He was still getting voices, even when it was shut off. Yep.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, how much inspiration did you get for Staticom from Bacci? I know they're two, of course, totally different technologies, but I think they kind of are doing pretty much the same thing. So was there an inspiration there?
Definitely. Knowing that he was getting full sentences and spirit boxes were producing 2 words, maybe 3 if you're lucky. Well, the reason for that was because they don't need the fragments of audio that come through when it scans up and down radio stations. So when you're playing a spirit box, you're looking for voices, yet you're getting voices that may be part of a radio station. And then you've got this unbelievably annoying white noise sound on top of all of that. Well, we figured out they don't need the fragments of audio. They are not grabbing them, changing them into their own sentences and creating new sentences. That we have never seen happen, and we don't believe that to be the case. So when we switched to just plain white noise, we got full sentences. But yeah, that was a driving factor to try and prove that what Marcello was getting could be replicated. And then not only were we able to replicate it, but we were able to improve it and improve it again and again and again. And then we even have clips where we have them reaching out to us, giving us information on settings, control settings, to help perfect.
He had a lot of that as well, where they were helping him try to perfect the technology or the way. So that's really interesting.
Correct.
Mediums and psychics. How many of them do you think they're getting their information the same way that you are with Staticom?
Great question. And yes, we do. We believe that however the information is being transmitted, if it's to Staticom directly in wave form or in some other form of energy form, that message is being translated and adjusted to somewhere between human hearing range so that we can hear it with our own ears. The signal, what we believe coming in, is no different than radio signals, which are flying by your head by the hundreds right now. Mm-hmm. But you don't hear anything without that electronic piece of equipment to decipher that signal into speech. I mean, you can't hear a radio wave with your own ears, but with a piece of electronics, you can. That's how we believe Staticom works. But there's no reason then that a medium or psychic can't get the same information directly from consciousness to consciousness and be able to get impressions, feelings, information, thoughts, emotions in the same way that Staticom works. So yes, we believe there are a ton of similarities.
Wow.
All right.
Now, we've talked about, spirit communication. Have you ever gotten anything not spirit-like, like demonic or anything like that? Have you ever gotten anything where you're like, oh, this is something different?
Well, we always get asked if aliens can use it to communicate. The fact of the matter is we wouldn't know because we only have vocal. There's no imagery. I can't see who I'm talking to. It's just the voice. So if aliens have enough information, know the language, have familiarity with what our world is like, what our surrounding is like, and how we communicate, that they could replicate it to the point where they could ask me a question or I can ask them a question and they could answer, I wouldn't know. I literally would not know it was not human or a human spirit. Now, as far as something darker, yeah, we were in Gettysburg a year or two ago, and we were there speaking, and one of my friends who's got a very haunted location in Ohio said, I'm having some problems. Can I ask Staticom some questions? I said, absolutely. So we set it up. She started asking her questions, and something just vicious as can be came through, swearing and screaming like a banshee. And just, there were probably 15 people in the room listening. And after a couple of minutes, we shut it off and we all went outside to take a break because the energy in the room changed. It was just uncomfortable, tense. And so we all went outside for a while, took a break, and didn't come back in until quite a bit later, started it back up and kept going. But
wow,
that's really the only idea I can place a tack on that I would say it was probably something darker.
Right.
Everything else has been, you get ones that are crabby, no doubt about it.
Sure.
But not vicious and not dark.
My favorite saying is, if you were an asshole in life, you're going to be an asshole in death. Your energy doesn't change. Your personality isn't going to change,
That is true.
So some of my favorite recordings that you had played for me on the last show were the ones where the spirits are actually talking to each other. That blew my mind when you could hear, when I think, I don't remember the exact context, but I remember one of them saying like, be quiet, he's talking, telling somebody else like, be quiet, I'm trying to hear what Tony's saying, that was like super impressive to me. I thought that was so crazy to hear that, that the fact that they could communicate with each other like that was mind blowing to me.
Well, if you liked that, and I don't remember off the top of my head which clip that was, but yeah, we've always known that they communicate to each other. In fact, we can turn it on and just listen to them talk. We don't even have to say anything. But I don't know if you plan to add these at the end or play them during, but 4th round of testing shows what two-way communication can do with 3.0.
I can play that right now.
Yeah, you got them queued up, Ken. Let's hear them.
All right.
Time what? I can hear you when you whisper. You know that, right? Spirits, if you're not familiar with this device is called Staticom. If you heard me say Staticom. That's better.
Now, can you say Staticom for me, please?
All right, Spirits. If you don't want to say Staticom, let's play another game. What am I holding in my hand? Glasses. Thank you. Thank you very much. How about pineapple? Can you say pineapple? Oh, perfect. Thank you. How come you can't say Staticom like that?
It's one word.
It's one word. Staticom. Have you not been able to talk to humans before? If you can hear me, Spirits, say elephant.
Do you know Tony?
It's me. If we use this device to help cold cases, will you answer the question? Yeah, sure. You bet. Thank you.
That will help.
That'll help a lot.
So the part that got me was, dude, you even got a dog that came through.
Mad Dog was on our side.
I know. I'm just messing with you, man.
We've had that happen before where people have asked for their pets and their pets have responded.
I actually saw the dog walking by in the video. I was just being a smartass.
Oh yes, there is one of our dogs that does show up in the video, but I couldn't hear what you were playing, just to let you know.
Oh, you couldn't?
Oh, you couldn't hear it. Wow, that's weird. That's weird that you couldn't hear it. Normally you should have been able to hear that, but that was the clip that we were talking about anyway. I'm sure you could probably still walk us through that.
Clip it was, but it was so low and in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we'll play that, more in the unfortunately this is only an audio podcast, so we're not gonna be able to put the words up on any screens or anything like that. But if you could just walk us through a little bit of what that was all about.
Well, it clearly showed repetitive question and answer. I asked them to say certain words. They repeated them immediately after I asked. I held something in my hand and said, "Spirits, what am I holding?" They said glasses. That's exactly what I had in my hand. The funniest part was I asked them to say Staticom. They didn't answer. Then my wife said, "Can you say Staticom?" And they did answer, but we didn't catch it, not in the live. So then when I asked again, they literally said, "Listen, you people, like we did say it, pay attention." And then the other thing in there that really struck me as fascinating was, I'm drawing a blank at the moment. I don't remember, but anyway, those things alone, that two-way communication, you don't ever get anything like that on a spirit box or even an app, even if it's spitting out from a word bank. And there's no AI generated voice in here. There is nothing to produce speech, nothing. Those voices should not be occurring, but they do with timing and relevance to the question asked and show deep intelligence.
And like you said, they show a little bit of personality when they said, like, listen, you people, like,
Exactly.
you know, like, come on.
Right. Exactly. And every voice is different.
Right.
Every voice sounds different. Every voice has a different personality. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I said something like, have you not spoken to humans before? And the answer really blew my mind, because the answer that came through was like Becky. And one of my best friends is Don Phillips. And if anyone's seen the Mysteries Unknown episode, he talks all about his connection to a spirit named Becky. So to have that come through just blew my mind.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, the reason why I always send you these clips, I always have a really hard time, like, really kind of deciphering, you know, I mean, how do you decipher? Some of them are very clear. You know, some of them you could definitely hear what they're saying, but some of them it might take a little bit to really kind of, how could you know that some of it's not, I don't even know what you would call it, I guess, audio pareidolia, you know, as opposed to what it really, you know, what it's really saying.
Well, the first one is what's called a voice print. And it doesn't matter who says it, whether it's male or female or has an accent or not. If I say the sentence, have a good day, and then I give the recorder to my wife and say, have a good day, and she says it. And then I give it to somebody else and say, have a good day. The voice print, regardless of vocal tone, regardless of accent, regardless of male or female, will have similar characteristics based on the words that are said. So we have matched things said to voice print. The other thing we're working on, and this is the only time we would bring in AI, but to allow AI to decipher what's being said and put it up in text. So it is second clarification to what we think we heard to what AI translated into text from what it heard. So it's a secondary source of recognition that there is agreement upon what was said. But when you have a room full of 40 or 50 people and something is said during a live presentation and all of them in the room go, we heard this. Yep, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I had, it was probably after you and I had talked, but I had went on a Get Haunted investigation back in April at the Mid-Orange Correctional Facility. And, you know, we did an EVP session and stuff in the mess hall. And I knew, I was like, listen, if anything's going to come over, it's going to come over when I'm there, because I'm a correction officer. I've worked in the state corrections department. You know, like, if anybody's going to try and communicate with anybody, it's probably going to be me. Right. And the one thing, and I still have to get, if Rob, if you're listening to this episode, I need that sound clip, buddy. Anyway, he had recorded the EVP session that we had done. He's like, "Oh, Joe, go in the middle and do, you know, ask some questions." So I asked some questions, and one of the things that, right when I started, one of the EVPs, the first one, said, like, "What's up, P?" And my last name is Panaccio, and that's what the inmates call me, is P for short.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, that was mind-boggling. And that was so clear, you know, when he said it. And I was like, wow, well, if that didn't convince me right there, I mean, that was pretty amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does take some ear training if you haven't listened to EVPs for 6 months on top of ITC, because there is a difference in the way EVP comes over compared to ITC. ITC will break words in places you would never expect a break to be, or a pause, or just a different way of pronunciating. So there is some ear training needed but once you have it, you can pick it up immediately, and so can anybody else who's got that background. But we are working every day to get that clarity top notch.
So, Ken, do you have any more queued up? Would you let's listen to a couple more, I guess.
Yeah. What do you want me to play? Anything?
Play the just play the one that says I had cancer. It's a real quick one, but it's a good one.
Got it.
Do you know how did you die?
Never on an EVP have I ever had anyone answer how they died. And at one point I told my wife, before Staticom, don't ask that question anymore. Well, she snuck up behind me because this woman was answering most of my questions. And so she runs up behind me and said, how did you die? Well, she answered. But if you notice, she's not emotional about it. It's not something that's, having a emotional effect or drain on her anymore. She calmly and casually says, I had cancer. But yet she's answering the question, so she's obviously still alive, just not in human form anymore.
Have you ever had any of these spirits tell you like, oh, can you tell somebody this for me? Or, can you do this for me? Or have you gotten anything like that ever?
Yeah. I mean, we used to do all sorts of tests where our former partners were no longer with them, but they had a similar system. I think that was 1.5 or 2.0. I don't remember. But we could actually communicate with each other across the country through them giving and receiving messages. So like I would say, hey, go tell them this, or are they running their communication right now? And they would come back to me and say, yes. Well, can you tell them this? And we've also done things again across the entire country where one person would write, not show anybody. One person would write a word on a piece of paper, and then we'd ask the spirits, what word did they write on the paper? Answer would come back. They'd lift up the paper. Sure enough, exactly what we were told was written.
Wow. Ken, if you still have them queued up, can you give us a little bit of a, tell us a little bit about the Tesla one?
Sure. And I can't remember which one this one is, but oh yeah. Okay. So like I said before, we have a Staticom. We have a Patreon page. And we used to post all of our stuff, all of our tests all over social media. But we decided, in order to keep the people that are really interested, the ones that want to learn, the ones that want to understand, and the ones that want to participate in tests, we ran a live Staticom session where paid members could ask their own questions. And I can't remember if this was somebody's question or we just got on the topic of, no, I think it was somebody's question. They asked something about a connection to the ITC pioneers. And I think this was about who was still involved today. And I believe that's this clip. So go ahead and play that.
All right, Phil's got a great question. Spirits, are you willing to answer for me? Yes, okay. Phil wants to know, do you have an organized group in spirit that helps work with us with Staticom? Yes. Are there any past ITC researchers that are part of that group?
Could that be Marcello Bacci?
Yes. So Bocce is part of that group? Yes. How about Tesla? Yeah, lots of questions. How about Edison? Thomas Edison. Edison.
Can we connect to Marcello Bacci, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Marcello, are you there? Yes, what about Konstantin Radova? They're nervous? Can I speak to Konstantin Radova? Konstantin, are you there? Yes. Are you helping spirits communicate with humans? What about Tesla? If he's around, say Tesla. Yeah, spirits. When you're saying the next chapter, are you talking about like when we hit, or what we're working on now is Staticom 4.0? Is that what you're referring to?
So never have I heard him referred to as Nick Tesla. I found that absolutely fascinating because, it was Nikola Tesla.
Right.
But they called him Nick. That was just phenomenal to me.
Have you ever communicated with any modern celebrities? Has anybody ever come through that you're like, oh wow, like somebody, recent, I guess?
No, we stay away from that just because of the YouTube fakeries out there.
Yeah.
Claiming to have spoken to Michael Jackson, and we don't touch that.
Gotcha.
Joe's trying to get you to talk to. We already know Joe.
Ozzy.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to Ozzy.
Everybody
Joe.
wants to talk to Ozzy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we purposely stay away from that.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah, I definitely understand that for sure. Yeah, so as a good segue that the spirit just brought up, or that you brought up in that clip, what's new, or what's the technology looking like that you're working on with Staticom 4.0?
Well, obviously, we're always, every step we advance, we're looking for better clarity. We're looking for more portability. We are going to try to combine this down into something much smaller, much more portable. And we're looking at the option of including imagery. My partner has created an awesome device that will literally show electronic images, which we believe that are produced by spirit. So we're evaluating the possibility of integrating that into the system.
Wow. So what do you hope to achieve ultimately? And also, actually, before we get into that question, how far along is Staticom 4.0?
Just started.
Okay.
Just started. Yeah, and it'll be a while. What's the ultimate goal? Well, originally the ultimate goal was to prove that spirits could speak, that you could communicate with them, or at least to capture the best communication possible. But in trying to investigate or hunt spirits, we literally found our own, because we're not chasing the spirit or ghost of some single individual. What we learned we're chasing is consciousness as a whole, consciousness as universal consciousness, and that it is there before life. It exists beyond life and is eternal and always around, and it can be communicated with. That is the goal. The goal is to prove that without reasonable doubt, and to get science at some point to drop the materialistic science view and take a look at phenomena. Because even if you look at what science does today, still 80% of the population are materialistic science, means they believe in the 3D world, what happens in the 3D world, how they believe it functions, and that's it. They believe consciousness is a byproduct of the brain, and when the brain dies, consciousness dies. No, we don't believe that at all. We want them to seriously take a look, and someone's answering our questions, and it's not of this 3D world.
So what do you have planned, and how could people reach you if they had to?
Sure. Facebook, Tony Rathman, is a great place to start. Otherwise, our website, entityvoices.com, is another good location. You will see links to all of our other sites, including TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, YouTube channels, all sorts of others, where we show samples, clips. Now, the majority today, everything's going to Patreon. So you want to see stuff first, join that. The live demonstrations are done there. Background video when we're giving lectures. We actually show the lectures, the audience participation, the background footage of things that we do while we're at these different paracons or events. But one of those places is a great place to start.
Oh, great, man. All right. So listen, thank you for coming back on the show and telling us, what you got coming up and your advancements and everything. And listen, I'm sure you're going to be hearing from me again. If we get any more EVPs, I'll be sending them over to you. But it's a blast as always, Tony. Thank you for coming on, and we appreciate you taking your time out, and keep up the great work, man.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to both of you. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you again.
You too. All right. Have a great night.
See you later.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Warped Reality Paranormal Podcast, and thank you to all of our guests and contributors that help make this show possible. For more information on the show, to listen to every episode, read paranormal news, or to submit your paranormal experience, check out warpedrealityparanormal.com. You could also email me at ghostjoeny@gmail.com. The Warped Reality Paranormal Podcast, uncovering the unseen.